Begin transmission. The time has come, Supernova. The day of judgment is upon us all. You are all here for one purpose: to defend from the enemy in this country. We have all clashed in other battles before, all defining us as an ally or an enemy to this world. But the threat among us is far greater than your past rivalries. Whatever you've done in this world is history. All of it set aside now. We are at war with an enemy with the capability to destroy this country. With this in mind, it doesn't matter what you were or what you are now. It doesn't matter if you are an ally or an enemy. Regardless if you are a superhuman, a mad science experiment, a former criminal, a war veteran, or whatever you are, you are needed in this fight. There's no time to hesitate. It's time we take our country back. End transmission.
The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Supernova. An unusual event is occurring above the skies of Washington, D.C. At around 1:00 p.m., a loud and powerful shockwave has erupted over the Capitol building. The shockwave has caused minor damage to buildings within the blast radius. The source of the eruption isn't known at this time. Travel near the Capitol is strongly discouraged. North Star military forces are currently stationed around the building. Once again, travel near the Capitol building is strongly discouraged.
Attempting to reconnect. The Supernova has authorized the use of this station to broadcast all updates during this emergency. Please stand by as new information becomes available. The Supernova has authorized the use of this station to broadcast all updates during this emergency.
This is WMAL. We are currently broadcasting emergency updates by the order of the Supernova. Here is an update on the situation occurring in Washington, D.C. As of 1:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Supernova has received multiple reports of a major disturbance over the Capitol building. According to the Supernova, a massive orb of light has been fired from within the Capitol, and has violently exploded over the district. A few minutes after the explosion, the skies above DC have been shrouded with thick red clouds, and a large, pitch-black tear, which appears to be a wormhole, has opened above the Capitol. The supernova states that the wormhole does not pose a threat to civilians at this time, but members have been dispatched to further examine the wormhole for any possible threats to the city. We have also received word from the supernova that a large group of North Star armed forces are expected to arrive at the Capitol in 5 minutes. Residents in Washington, D.C. are now ordered to stay indoors and to move away from the Capitol immediately. The North Star will be commencing an assault upon the supernova in 10 minutes. If you are receiving this broadcast, you are now mandated to head to an underground shelter immediately. Barricade all entrances to your shelter to protect yourself from heavy gunfire. Bring all necessary supplies into your shelter, such as food, water, clothing, medical supplies, and a battery-powered radio. If any member of your family goes missing, do not attempt to find them. The supernova will be assisting civilians who have been displaced during this emergency. The supernova has dispatched reinforcements into Washington, D.C. Military units will be arriving in 2 minutes. Until then, citizens will remain in their underground shelters until the all-clear is given. Ensure you have enough supplies to last for up to 14 days, as the supernova will be unable to transport supplies to affected areas. Be prepared to defend yourself, should a North Star militia trooper break into your shelter. Otherwise, hide away from view at all times. Turn off all radios and televisions until you are safe. If you are caught on the road, abandon your vehicle and hide away from view. Evacuations out of DC are deemed impossible, as multiple vehicles are blocking off major roadways out of the city. Do not attempt to evacuate out of the city. All attempts to evacuate have been met with lethal force.
The following message is being transmitted at the request of the supernova. At this time, all civilians living in Washington, D.C. are ordered to head to an underground shelter now. The North Star has sent out armed forces into Washington, D.C. These units are expected to arrive in 10 minutes. Residents in Washington, D.C. should be prepared to take action against the North Star militia forces. There is a high possibility that gunfire and small explosives will be used during this emergency. Travel out of DC is strongly discouraged. The North Star will be using roadways to transport units into the city. Once again, do not attempt to evacuate. You will be putting your life in extreme danger. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the supernova. The North Star militia forces have destroyed supernova transport trucks headed towards emergency shelters. Over 700 civilians have been killed in these attacks. North Star forces have broken into people's homes, killing all occupants inside. Because of the severity of the situation, the supernova will be commencing an attack upon the North Star militia forces. The supernova will no longer be transporting civilians to emergency shelters. If you are not in a shelter, find one and place as many objects between you and the outside world. All civilians receiving this message should be prepared to defend themselves against the North Star.
This is WMAL. For those of you who are just tuning in, A civil danger warning remains in effect for Washington, D.C., until further notice. We have just received word from the Supernova that the group sent in to analyze the wormhole above the Capitol have been ambushed by North Star militia at the National Mall. The Supernova has dispatched military units to engage the North Star militia troops stationed around the Capitol building. Military radars have detected 5 groups of North Star militia troops entering Washington, D.C., and they are expected to arrive at the National Mall in 1 hour. Fighter jets have been spotted patrolling the skies above the Capitol. The Supernova states that the wormhole does not appear to affect the fighter jets flying into the tear. No units have been taken down as a result. The Supernova will be commencing an assault against the North Star shortly. Supernova military units will be dispersed into Washington, D.C., to hold back the incoming North Star troops. As of now, 3 groups have been sent into the city to attack major points throughout the district. Group 1. Code name, Anarchy. The Supernova will be assisted by the following members: X, Johnny, James, Drake, Louis Reyes, and Darwin Anderson. These members will be responsible for eliminating the North Star militia troops entering Washington, D.C. The group will be patrolling the city near the 5 points, where the North Star is expected to reach the district. There is a high possibility that gunfire and explosives will be used. Citizens must be vigilant and ready to make amends to their shelters, should they become damaged during this attack. Group 2. Code name, Breach. As of now, the Supernova is attempting to break into the Capitol building. The fighter jets spotted over the Capitol have opened fire upon the Supernova military units. Because of this, the Supernova will be dispatching Jenny Tetsu, Saki, Ron Adamson, Lydia Proctor, Bobby Wilson, and Cheryl Noble into the Capitol to assist the remaining military units. The perimeter around the Capitol and the National Mall has been closed off. Group 3. Code name, Neutralization. The Supernova has confirmed the presence of a large weapon from within the Pentagon. The weapon is currently being analyzed by satellite systems for any new possible threats. The North Star has heavily guarded the Pentagon from within and outside the building, and all attempts to break into the Pentagon have been met with lethal force. Because of the possible threat of another major attack upon the United States, the Supernova has dispatched Seth and Sarah A. Lee, Dustin and Diana Parker, Nixon Darian, and Bridget Wilson to destroy the weapon. The Supernova will be unable to assist these members. The Supernova will continue to analyze the weapon, and any new information will be transmitted to this station. Follow all directions given out by the Supernova, and stay tuned to this station for further updates to this ongoing situation. Remain in your shelters at all times, and do not attempt to leave the city. Remain away from all openings and hide away from the North Star militia, should you spot any of its members. Keep your television or radio turned on and stay tuned.
The following message is being transmitted at the request of the members of Anarchy. The North Star military base in Baltimore has sent out 50 fighter jets into Washington, D.C. The fighter jets are firing upon Supernova military units stationed at the 5 entry points around the district. The members of Anarchy have enlisted Drake and Darwin Anderson to destroy the fighter jets. Please be advised that large explosions and firestorms may take place at any time. The Supernova orders all civilians to barricade all entrances, and to move to the centermost part of their shelters. The fighter jets will crash into the city upon destruction. interrupt our programming. This is a national emergency. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Supernova. An attack against the United States is in progress. Military radar has detected the launch of 20 missiles from Washington, D.C. The missiles are believed to contain nuclear warheads. Exact target locations are unknown, but all civilians living in the United States should head to a fallout shelter now. If you cannot get to a fallout shelter, local authorities will lead you to one. Seek shelter immediately. Gather all essential supplies into your shelter, such as food, water, medical supplies, and a battery-powered radio. Tune to your local station for updates. Head to your fallout shelter now.
This is WMAL. An emergency action notification is now in effect for the United States until further notice. The Supernova has detected a launch of 20 missiles from within the Capitol building. Exact target locations cannot be determined at this time, but impact upon Washington, D.C. is expected in 50 minutes. The contents of the missiles are unknown, but are assumed to contain nuclear warheads. Because of the impending risk of radioactive fallout, the Supernova has ordered all civilians living in the United States to head to a fallout shelter immediately. Gather all necessary supplies into your shelter. Tune your battery-powered radio to a station serving your local area for more information on this situation. Residents of Washington, D.C., if you are not already in an underground shelter, head to one and place as many objects between you and the outside world. If you are caught outside, remain hidden from the North Star until a member of the Supernova can escort you to a fallout shelter. Missiles are expected to make impact upon Washington, D.C. in the next 50 minutes. Head to an underground shelter now. Stay tuned to this station for further updates. This is WMAL. An emergency action notification remains in effect for the United States until further notice. The Supernova can now confirm that the incoming missiles do indeed contain nuclear warheads. 8 of the 20 incoming missiles have been destroyed in flight. Clouds of radioactive fallout are present over the following areas: Salt Lake City, Utah, Columbus, Ohio, Portland, Oregon, Sacramento, California, Trenton, New Jersey, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and Tallahassee, Florida. The 8th missile has detonated over the Pacific Ocean and was presumed to be headed towards Hawaii. At this time, 12 nuclear missiles remain in flight. The remaining missiles are expected to make impact upon the following areas: Jefferson City, Missouri, Dallas, Texas, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, New York City, New York, Nashville, Tennessee, Topeka, Kansas, Denver, Colorado, Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, San Francisco, California, and Washington, D.C. Missiles are expected to hit target cities in 10 minutes. Residents living in the target cities should be in an underground shelter now. If you are not in an underground shelter, find one and place as many objects between you and the outside world. There is no time to gather necessary supplies into your shelter. Residents in Washington, D.C. are advised that the missile inbound for the district is expected to arrive in less than 5 minutes. Do not attempt to leave your shelters at this time. Be prepared to tune your battery-powered radio to other news stations should this broadcast go off the air. Once again, the missile inbound for Washington, D.C. is expected to arrive at less than 5 minutes.
Attempting to reconnect.
This is WMAL. We are back online. Here is an update on the aftermath of the attacks upon the United States. 1 hour ago, 12 nuclear missiles had made impact upon the mainland United States. Massive clouds of radioactive fallout have scattered across the country and are expected to spread to neighboring states in less than 2 hours. The missile that made impact upon Washington, D.C. has not released any radioactive fallout within the past hour. However, a cloudburst of a mysterious blue substance remains present above the district. The substance is currently being analyzed by the supernova. No new information has been received at this time. In other news, the supernova can now confirm that breach has eliminated all North Star militia troops stationed around the Capitol and the National Mall. The team has now entered the Capitol. The fighter jets spotted over the Capitol building have been shot down by Jenny Tatsu and Cheryl Noble. The jets have violently crashed into the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. The monument has collapsed upon impact and killed a small group of North Star militia. Anarchy has successfully taken out 2 of the 5 groups of North Star troopers. However, the remaining 3 groups have entered D.C. and appear to be escorting what appears to be large armored tanks equipped with laser-based cannons. The North Star has not retaliated, but appear to be mobilizing towards major points of the district. Neutralization has recently updated the supernova on the situation at the Pentagon. The team has been spotted by the North Star and is currently under attack by North Star militia forces. The North Star has activated the weapon and it is currently being charged. Neutralization predicts that the weapon will be fully charged in approximately 3 hours. We have just received word from Anarchy that several explosive devices have been found throughout Washington, D.C. The contents of the explosives are unknown, but Anarchy has sent out James to investigate the nature of these devices. Supernova surveillance shows that North Star militia forces have been deliberately placing these explosives on utility poles, transformers, and backup generators. The militia forces will be terminated by X through sniper fire. We will now interrupt this broadcast to activate the emergency alert system. Please stand by.
The following message is being transmitted at the request of the supernova. A dangerous and potentially life-threatening situation is occurring throughout Washington, D.C. At around 6:54 p.m., a large group of supernova military units have opened fire upon the members of Anarchy. The reason for these attacks are unknown at this time. Anarchy states that the soldiers became disoriented and later proceeded to attack the remaining soldiers. The members of Anarchy have enlisted Johnny and Louis Reyes to hold back the hostile members. The supernova will continue to monitor their units for any signs of hostility. If you spot a supernova soldier in your area, do not attempt to approach it. Remain away from view at all times.
This is WMAL. A civil danger warning remains in effect for Washington, D.C. until further notice. Here are the updates on the current situation. Anarchy has confirmed that the devices scattered throughout D.C. do not contain explosives within them. However, the devices in question appear to be draining electricity from these power sources and are currently charging. The North Star does not appear to be using these energy cores at this time. A recent attempt at removing these energy cores has resulted in the total destruction of the power source, and all structures near the core have been incinerated as a result. X continues to shoot down North Star militia forces who are carrying these energy cores. Anarchy is now focusing on attempting to safely remove the cores without destroying the city. The supernova advises all civilians to remain away from all energy cores. Tampering with said cores will result in immediate death. Breach has made the discovery of a hidden room from within the Capitol. Lydia Proctor and Bobby Wilson are attempting to break into the room. The armor tanks spotted in Washington, D.C. have surrounded the Capitol building and are currently firing upon the supernova troops stationed around the building. over 10,000 troops have been killed as a result of these tanks. North Star armed forces are now approaching the capital. Ron Adamson has detonated a chemical weapon outside the building. The chemical has greatly incapacitated the incoming North Star forces. Jenny, Saki, and Cheryl are currently attempting to destroy the tanks stationed around the capital. However, the blue substance has weakened Chernobyl, as her body has stopped releasing radioactive materials. Jenny Tetsu has been significantly affected by the substance, as she is unable to control her cannon's firepower. Several incidents of Jenny firing at Supernova troops have been reported at the time of exposure. Saki appears to be unaffected, alongside the remaining members of Breach.
The following message is being transmitted at the request of the members of Breach. The cloudburst is causing Jenny Tetsu to unintentionally release a frequency into Washington, D.C. The frequency is affecting all electronics within a 10-mile radius of Jenny Tetsu. The following electronics may malfunction at any time: computers, laptops, radios, televisions, cell phones, and tablets. There is a strong possibility that some radios and televisions may lose connection to this station. The frequency appears to be affecting the energy cores planted on power sources throughout Washington, D.C. If you are within a visible range of an energy core, head to the centermost part of your shelter. The cores may explode and instantly incinerate all structures caught inside the explosion.
This is WMAL. A civil danger warning remains in effect for Washington, D.C. until further notice. The Supernova can now confirm that the cloudburst of the blue substance contains a heavily modified neurotoxin, specifically made by the North Star. The toxin has the capability to enhance physical and mental abilities. Defective changes in the physiology of the infected is a major after effect of the toxin. Recent analysis of Jenny Tetsu's neural network shows that the toxin has been affecting major parts of her body, including our arm cannon and propulsion systems. Cheryl Noble's physical structure has become stable as a result of the toxin, explaining why her body no longer releases radiation. However, Cheryl's levitation systems and robotic limbs appear to be functioning normally. The toxin's effects on humans are less severe, but the infected will begin to show extreme aggression towards the supernova. Saki remains unaffected by the neurotoxin and continues to attack the armored tanks alongside Jenny and Cheryl. The remaining supernova troops and team members of Breach are not showing any signs of infection. James has discovered a method that will effectively destroy the energy cores scattered around Washington, D.C. However, there is a high possibility that this station will go off the air as soon as James commences his operation. James is currently awaiting for confirmation from the supernova. At this time, all civilians receiving this message are instructed to
God damn it, James!
This is WMAL. An emergency action notification is now in effect for Washington, D.C. until further notice. Approximately 10 minutes ago, James has detonated an explosive device outside the Pentagon. James did not receive confirmation from the supernova. The device released a frequency that completely disabled the energy core scattered around Washington, D.C. The tanks stationed around the Capitol building have broken down after the cores were destroyed. Jenny Tetsu's systems have been shut down, and she has blacked out as a result. Jenny has been taken away by the supernova. This station has briefly lost connection to the supernova base in Baltimore, Maryland during the explosion. Neutralization has reported that the frequency has caused the weapon's core to become unstable, and that the weapon has been overloaded. North Star forces stationed at the Pentagon state that the weapon will self-destruct in 40 minutes. We have just received word from Breach that Bobby Wilson has broken into the room inside the Capitol. The Capitol is currently being raided by North Star militia. Saki and Lydia Proctor have been critically injured by the North Star and are now receiving medical assistance from the Supernova. The whereabouts of Ron Adamson are unknown at this time.
We interrupt our programming. This is a national emergency. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Supernova and the members of Breach. Unusual activity has been detected from within the wormhole. Space debris appears to be falling from within the tear. Sections of the Capitol's dome have been stripped off from impact by the debris. The Supernova states that the wormhole is expected to expand over the Capitol in 20 minutes. Space debris will fall on all buildings and infrastructure. It is uncertain if
This is WMAL. An emergency action notification remains in effect for the United States until further notice. The remaining members of Breach have reported unusual activity from within the wormhole above the Capitol. A large satellite can be seen from the other side of the wormhole, and it appears to be equipped with a large cannon pointed directly at the planet. The cannon does not appear to be powered on. Breach will continue to monitor the cannon for any new changes, and will update the Supernova as soon as new information becomes available. Neutralization is currently en route to the Capitol. The majority of the team members are being affected by the cloudburst. Nixon Daring and Bridget Wilson are attempting to hold back the remaining North Star troops. Dustin and Diana Parker have arrived at the National Mall. Seth and Sarah 80 had left the planet to further analyze the satellite. Communications with Seth and Sarah have been cut at the time of departure. The weapon is expected to self-destruct in approximately 25 minutes. All buildings and infrastructure will be incinerated. While your chances of survival are not assured,
the following message is being transmitted at the request of the members of Breach. Satellite systems have detected that the cannon is preparing to launch a projectile at the planet. The exact point of impact cannot be determined at this time. As a precaution, all civilians in the United States should continue to monitor news stations for any new updates on the current situation. If you are not in an underground shelter, head to one immediately. Once again, the cannon is preparing to fire upon the planet.
this is WMAL. An emergency action notification is now in effect for Washington, D.C., Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania until further notice. We have received word from Breach that the satellite has fired a single projectile at the planet, roughly 1.2 miles in diameter. The projectile is currently traveling towards the planet at 12 miles per second and is expected to reach the planet in approximately 2 hours. The projectile will enter the planet from the wormhole and make impact upon the Capitol. The entire district will be destroyed. Significant damage will be done to neighboring states. Anarchy has arrived at the Capitol. The remaining members of neutralization have also arrived. The teams are currently reprogramming the laser found inside the Capitol. The team will attempt to destroy the projectile. Breach is currently en route to the White House. Cheryl Noble is headed towards the Pentagon. All attempts to contact her have been unsuccessful. The weapon is expected to self-destruct in approximately 15 minutes. All residents in Washington, D.C. should be in an underground shelter now. This is WMAL. An emergency action notification remains in effect for Washington, D.C., Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania until further notice. The threat of an impending explosion has been resolved. The supernova can now confirm that Chernobyl has drained the weapon's core of its energy. The weapon no longer poses a threat to Washington, D.C. However, the projectile remains in flight towards the planet, and it is not safe to leave your shelters. Chernobyl's body is releasing heavy amounts of an unknown material into the city. The cloudburst appears to be dissipating as a result. Chernobyl is en route to the capital. The projectile is expected to arrive in 5 minutes. All civilians living in the mentioned states should be in an underground shelter now. The team at the capital states that the laser may not fully destroy the projectile upon impact. We will now interrupt this broadcast to activate the emergency alert system. Please stand by.
The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Supernova. At this time, the teams at the Capitol are preparing to fire a laser weapon to destroy the incoming projectile. The Supernova states that space debris will impact all of Washington, D.C. upon destruction. There is a high possibility of widespread power outages throughout the city. This broadcast may cease at any time. Breach has confirmed safe entry into the White House. If you are receiving this message, you are strongly encouraged. This is an emergency action termination. The threat of the projectile is now over. The supernova has successfully destroyed the projectile before it made impact upon the planet. No debris has been reported at the time of destruction. However, Chernobyl continues to remain unresponsive. The supernova will be monitoring her for any new changes. The supernova has confirmed that the leader of the North Star has been terminated at the White House. As of 9:00 p.m., the North Star has been defeated at Washington, D.C. The supernova will commence rescue operations starting at the East Coast. Please remain in your shelters until a member of the supernova can assist you. Once again, the projectile has been destroyed. The North Star no longer poses a threat to the United States.